The Steelers get the W. It's a career high for Fields with the 291 and put it in the end zone late in the fourth quarter, but back came Ben Roethlisberger, said, let me show you how it's done, young fella. Brought his team down and got the field goal for the win. Bears did cover the spread. They were getting 7. Over came in as well. Pittsburgh, most importantly for them, they go to 5-3, very much alive in the division, in the AFC wildcard. Bears fall to 3-6. All right, let's get our guys in and talk it. Our two-time Super Bowl champion with the Pittsburgh Steelers, Brian McFadden. JJ, I'm Eric Casilius. Let's get to it. B-Mac, I'll start with you. Jen, how do the Steelers always seem to win these kind of games? What is it? Something in the water, in the locker room? I mean, it doesn't matter the coaches, because you've only had 3 since 1969, the players, whatever. You just seem to find a way to win these games that are coin flips, at least more than your share. How?
I think when it comes to close ball games and finding a way to win, you've got to be more disciplined. And because of that, they won a nail-biter against the Chicago Bears. The Chicago Bears did everything in their power to lose this ball game. 12 penalties. And I know that some of those calls definitely were questionable. But you're talking about having a total of 12 penalties for what? Almost over 100 yards, if I'm not mistaken. 115 yards to be exact. That's negative plays. So when you see two teams going down to the wire, usually the most disciplined, the smartest team is a team that usually comes out on top. And luckily for Pittsburgh, under Mike Tomlin, they have been the smarter team in these type of ball games.
All right, JJ, how did they win this particular game tonight, the Steelers? You know, they got off to a good start. They held on, they gave up the lead, but then found a way to come back and make enough plays.
Yeah, and you know, there was that kind of fluky touchdown on the fumble, kickoff, and all that. But they were able to win this game because the Chicago Bears didn't get started until late. And if we had seen the Chicago Bears of the second half, even some sort of semblance of them in the first half that we saw in the second half, this would have probably been a Chicago Bears win. And listen, the penalties worked very much against the Chicago Bears. Absolutely hated the taunting penalty on Castor Smarts. It wound up not ultimately mattering because we saw a fantastic drive from Justin Fields. And so if you come away from this game as a Bears fan, you say, gosh, you know, we had the opportunity to win. We got to play better in the first 30 minutes of the game than we and certainly play more like we did in the last 30. But you got to be impressed and pleased with Justin Fields, the young rookie, the guy that you traded up for. He finally got that opportunity, made the most of it. They just couldn't get it done on defense.
B-Mac, I'll start with you when we get to Justin Fields. JJ got our toe dipped in the water there, but now let's get into Justin Fields. Overall, man, I thought he played a great fourth quarter. First half, I thought he got better as the game went on. If you're a Bear fan, can I sell you that tonight is a good night, even though you didn't win the game?
Yeah, you can. It was a good night for the quarterback. He grew up a very, very difficult environment to play in, playing against an experienced team, an experienced coaching staff. And most rookie quarterbacks struggle on a primetime stage in Pittsburgh. And he struggled, but eventually he found his rhythm and he got things rolling. So yes, there has to be a positive in this loss for Chicago. Justin Fields played pretty good football. And one thing I can say from what I saw, I think he's more comfortable being in a up-tempo like attack. He's not huddling, he just reacting and he's just going. And that's where we started to see pretty good production from Justin Fields when they had to put their foot on the gas and just go. So that might be something to think about moving forward for Justin Fields offensively. Just the mentality, just going back to an up-tempo attack. Remember, that was something they often ran at Ohio State, and he clearly was able to make things happen in that type of offense. But yeah, and all positive coming from the young quarterback.
What did we learn about Justin Fields? You know, the start of the night, I will point out, you're all on the line was he's going to have more than 7.5 rushes. It started at 6.5, and then it went to 7.
Yep.
Then it went to 7. I said, I don't care, he's still going over. He ended up going over with 8. So congratulations on that. But what did you learn about Justin Fields tonight?
Well, I learned, or more actually appropriately, what I remembered was that Justin Fields is an absolute gamer. Is that a cliche? Yes. But what we saw in that Ohio State college football playoff game against Clemson, where he was getting banged around, and he kept coming back, and he kept playing battered and bruised and put the team on his back in that game. That's the sort of Justin Fields that I saw tonight, a guy who on those 8 carries that he had, there was probably 2 or 3 that he took a late hit. There was probably 1 or 2 of those that a flag should have been thrown, or at least could have been thrown. He kept bouncing back up. And even when his team was down there in the first half, his defense wasn't getting the job done. They couldn't do anything on offense. They were 1 of 7 on third down conversions in the first half. He did not let that deter him. He did not let that weight of offensive ineptitude, the weight of his head coach Matt Nagy weighing him down, hold him back and prevent him from coming back and taking the lead late in the fourth quarter at Heinz Field, where the Pittsburgh Steelers do not lose on Monday Night Football. He can't control what the defense does. That's okay. He put his team in a position to win that football game. All credit to him. And honestly, I just wish that he had been given the opportunity to throw that Hail Mary there at the end, because, you know, Matt Nagy should have known that Cairo Santos did not have the legs 65 yards outdoors at Heinz Field to try that game-winning field goal attempt that wound up 8 yards short. It looked like it hit the crossbar. This kick it wouldn't have been good from 57, and they tried it from 65. You got to know that as Matt Nagy. That, again, falls on the head coach. I'm not saying that they were going to make that Hail Mary and that they were going to win the football game off the Hail Mary, but I believe that a Hail Mary had a better opportunity of them winning the football game than Cairo Santos being 8.5 yards short on that kick.
B-Mac, I'm going to give you back to Pittsburgh here, because what we basically said was we liked what Justin Fields showed us. We liked the grit, the determination, the fact that he seemed to get better as the game went on. Now, it wasn't enough. They didn't win, right? And you're going to have to learn how to win these games, and that'll come in time, hopefully, if you're a Bear fan. You think that maybe you get some more consistency week in, week out. But now let's get to Pittsburgh. They're 5-3. There are things to like. There are things not to like. Are they a playoff team in your mind?
Good question. Ooh, that's a good, tough question. Are they a playoff team in my mind? I'll say yes. I think so. Do I like their chances? I'm not willing to say that right now, but I'll say yes, because they're starting to really find their way offensively, play a little better football. As a team, they ran for over 100 yards. That's a plus. Big Ben didn't have any turnovers. That's a plus. And what we saw that led to Chicago getting back into this ball game was a big-time turnover that resulted into a touchdown. So you look at the wild card teams. The Raiders, they're not really scaring you right now, right? The Patriots, that's the team you might need to be mindful of. But currently how it is looking right now when it comes to playoff seeds, I think they're right where they need to be. So to answer your question, yes, I am. I think they are a playoff team, because when you look at the traffic that's around, that they're in, I mean, Raiders don't scare you, and I think Patriots are a team you got to be mindful of, but they have a rookie quarterback.
JJ, Detroit next week.
Yep.
If you're Pittsburgh, you think that's got to be a win. But after that, it ain't easy.
No.
At the Chargers, at Cincinnati, at Minnesota, at Kansas City, Baltimore twice, Tennessee, and Cleveland.
Oh, is that all?
That's all. I mean, this is it. Like, you get Detroit and then take a deep breath, because here comes the avalanche after that. That is about as tough a finish as you can imagine, because you're in a division where the Steelers might be the best team or the worst team. Are they a playoff team?
I don't think so. And I heard the consternation and saw it on the face of Brian McFadden, and I appreciate it. You look at the AFC East, and I think, I'm just going to do some simple math here, right? I'm looking at the AFC East, and Buffalo's in the playoffs, and I think New England is rounding into form, and I think that they are a better team, or more a team that I'm going to believe is going to make it into the playoffs. So that's one wild card taken care of. You look at, and I'll skip the AFC North right now. There's only one team coming out of the AFC South. We're going to say it's the Titans there. You look at the AFC West. I believe the Chargers. I believe Kansas City. And I also right now believe in Vegas. So those are two potential wild card teams right there. And that's before I get to the AFC North. I don't believe in the Cincinnati Bengals. I do not believe in them. We're going to have a winner out of the AFC North. And if it is not the Steelers, they're going to be competing likely with the Cleveland Browns, who they just beat 15-10. But what I don't like about the Pittsburgh Steelers is this is supposed to be a defense that is rounding into form, right? We saw it the last couple of weeks. This defense did not round into form whatsoever in the second half against Justin Fields, against a passing offense that came into this game halfway through the season with the 4th fewest passing yards on average of any other team in the NFL since the year 2000, since Y2K, 4th fewest. I didn't like how this team finished the game and attempted to finish the game rather against the Bears at home on Monday Night Football. And so because of that, because of the other competition, the AFC, yeah, they could make the playoffs. They ultimately may be playoff worthy, and they could get potentially to 10 wins. And
you know, look, you got to beat Detroit next week and then go 4-4 and last 8. That's 10.
And
that's what you got to do. You got to split those last 8. Now, they may not be favored in 4 of those 8. I'll be fair. They'll probably be underdogs in 5 or 6 of those 8, but that's the path for Pittsburgh. Beat Detroit, split the last 8. That gets you to 10 wins. That gets you in the playoffs. But JJ makes a great point, B-Mac. You played on the Steeler defense. This Steeler defense could not close it down against a rookie quarterback that had been iffy at best coming in. What's your level of concern with the Steeler D, considering at home, whole world watching, they couldn't shut it down?
I'm concerned because it's not what we've grown accustomed to seeing. But I'm not quite ready to hit the panic button just yet, because a week ago on the road against Cleveland, they basically just effaced the entire offense from the Browns. They put the team on their back and they came up with a huge win because their offense couldn't get anything going, and defensively they had to win the ball game pretty much. So it wasn't the same performance that we saw last week. But I think understanding and knowing the personnel, and they're getting healthy. That's the thing. They're getting healthy on the defensive side. In today's matchup, it was pretty good to see the offense kind of bail the Steelers' defense out, because for quite some time throughout this year, we know how stagnant the offense has been. So I'm not quite ready to hit the panic button just yet. And the thing about Pittsburgh that they have to continue to do, because you talked about that stretch of difficult ball games, they have to beat the teams they're supposed to beat. And that's what they have done. Beating Seattle without Russell Wilson was a plus. You know, beating the Browns banged up was a plus. Beating Chicago tonight was a plus. That's the teams that when I look at playoff caliber teams, they beat the teams that they're supposed to beat based on the personnel, based on the inconsistencies from that team. So I'm not concerned. I think defense will find a way to get things going, but I was excited to see the offense do some pretty entertaining things, to say the least.
Yeah, I'll agree with that. I think this is a team that could easily find their way on or out of the playoffs, and it's going to be by one game either way. So we covered the Pittsburgh win. We covered Justin Fields. We covered the questions with Pittsburgh. The defense, are they a playoff team? Let's go full circle here, back to the game. And I didn't want this to be the first thing we talked about, or even the second thing we talked about. But give me a grade for the officiating tonight, JJ. And you know, I'm not fire the coach, it's the official's fault, play the backup quarterback guy. But I think I gotta ask that. I want a grade for the officials tonight.
What do we have? We had 17 total penalties accepted. This taunting call on Cassius Marsh, that happens with what? 3.5, 4 minutes in the game.
After they've stopped them.
They've stopped. The punter is coming onto the field.
And by throwing the flag, you extend the drive and get Pittsburgh.
And the Bears and the 11 guys on that field made it happen. They made sure that they got off the field to give the football back to their rookie quarterback on the road to have the opportunity to win the football game. And they called a taunting on that because he stared down the other sideline, a sideline that a team that he had been a part of back in training camp. I don't think Tony Correnti, the referee, knew that in that moment. He saw the stare down. He couldn't have possibly heard anything, I can't imagine. And it didn't look like Cassius Marsh even said anything. But that is a call. And Ike, we were watching this game together. You made the point. If it's in the first quarter, you throw that flag because you want to set the tone as an officiating crew. Hey, we're not doing that, and you guys know that because it's week 9. It's the end of week 9. But right there, he just got the sack on a future Hall of Famer. He got the ball back to his team, to his offense, and you throw the flag. That was about as bad as it gets in taunting. Forget about Darren Waller spiking the football on the LA Chargers sideline late in the first half. Forget about Marlon Mack flexing and all that stuff in preseason after he just dragged 7 dudes along with him. That was the worst taunting call that I'd seen by an official make this NFL season because of how game-changing, because of how impactful full. It would have been, it could have been. You have to eat and swallow the whistle right there. You cannot throw the flag.
All right, fair enough. I can't disagree with that. And again, if that had been the call that decided the game, I would have not been pleased at all. Thankfully, we had a lot more action after that. But, you know, I don't think anybody was thrilled with that call. I don't think this officiating crew is going to get a great grade for tonight. I'll just say that. I'm not sure it was even unfair to one team or the other. I just didn't think it was a particularly great job.
Wasn't.
And I'm usually very pro-official because I know I couldn't do it. And I can't get mad at somebody for something. I mean, they're better at it than I am. That's for darn sure. But I did not think it was their best night. It was a terrific night from the two of you breaking down this game. Pittsburgh finds a way to win. All right, so Justin Fields, starting to see the field. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, sure.
Yep.
That's good.
And he is.
Yep, I like it. Look, completion percentage is up. Passing yards per game is up, including tonight. We had a really, really, really nice game. Gave you an awful lot, especially in that second half. Ended up finishing with 291. And really, it's the touchdown to turnover. That's the difference. 2 to 7 is going to get you out of the league. Now we're at like plus, right? We're at plus money. More touchdowns and turnovers. That's a big step.
Do you want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis, no yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.